Okay guys, so we are back with chapter 156. I didn't do a review for chapter 155, but basically the highlights from that chapter are that Jin and Klein defeated Lyra and Calm by activating their overdrives at the end of the chapter, which by the way, Hero once again killed it with the designs for these overdrives. I love the whole bird aesthetic they have going for them, it definitely fits with their powers being wind based. The only complaint I had, and it actually had something to do with their overdrives, my only complaint from the chapter was the fact that we actually didn't get to see Calm's overdrive because I was so sure that Calm definitely had one based on the reaction he had to being told that the Eden Zero crew had overdrives. But I guess that was just kind of wishful thinking on my part. Anyway, it's also kind of implied at the end of the chapter that Ijuna might be planning something because we see her after the fight's over having watching the fight and she has this very sinister smile on her face. So yeah, there's definitely something going on there. And I wonder if it has anything to do with my theory that Ijuna might be this princess character that Laguna was talking about a few chapters ago. And if that's true and Hero might be setting up that reveal, then this means that he's also setting up the fact that at some point in the near future before the arc's over, Laguna and Ijuna will have a face-to-face meeting. Which makes sense because when it comes down to it, they're the only two on either side who haven't fought against anybody yet. I mean, you can argue that Rebecca technically hasn't fought anyone either, although I am counting her match against Lyra. That definitely counts as a fight for her, especially since she can't use her Ether Gear ability for the rest of the arc. At least we assume she can't use it without suffering some major consequences. So, I don't see her having any other fights in this arc besides some fodder characters. So, that just leaves Laguna and Ijuna to face off against each other. Anyway, jumping into the chapter, we start off with my girl Xiao Mei, and you guys know I really dig this character. I mean, I really wish that she was more involved in the overall story, that she wasn't just here to kind of give us exposition every now and then, and that she actually was given more screen time. But, I'll take what I can get. Anyway, we start off with her narrating the events that happened over the last few chapters. Everyone fighting and defeating the Ocean 6 members, Shura kidnapping Witch. She even makes a little joke about the fact that Homura and Creed are stuck together in the underground tunnels. Then we actually cut away from Narrow 66 and check back in with planet Narrow 1, also known as Temple, the planet that Poseidon uses as his main base of operations. So, you guys remember back in chapter 151 when Eraser asked Justice when Jaguar is showing up with the rest of their reinforcements? And we found out from Justice that Jaguar was actually called out to go deal with a different mission. Well, apparently, this was that other mission. So, because of the fact that Shura brought a majority of the Imperial military with him to Narrow 66, the Interstellar Unit Army thought, hey, this would be the perfect time to try to take down Poseidon. And I mean, they're not wrong. It actually was a pretty solid plan. The majority of his military is gone. Whenever are they ever going to get a better chance at taking Poseidon down than this? The only thing I actually would have done differently than they're currently doing is I would have sent more than just one Eration Saints Interstellar to fight him. Because, I mean, we end up finding out in the chapter that Jaguar is definitely a beast. But Poseidon is an Eration Saints Galactica, so we can assume he's most likely around the same level as Jaguar. So if the two of them would be pretty even in a fight, why not send one more Eration Saints Interstellar to shift things in their favor? And I guess the best answer that they could actually have for that is that the other ones are on mission somewhere. But I mean, come on. This is Poseidon we're talking about. You're telling me that whatever mission they're on is more important than capturing him? I don't believe that. Anyway, after the narration from Xiao Mei, we cut right into the invasion on Temple, and we find out that the CEO from the major android company in the Owl Cosmos, Rickard, is actually working alongside Jaguar to take down Poseidon. And if you guys don't recognize this guy, I definitely don't blame you. Even I had to go back and look him up. And if I remember correctly, he only showed up briefly in, I want to say, chapter 136, I think. So yeah, he's not really a prominent character. He's not really anyone worth noting. But I will say that he's actually proven to be pretty useful in this chapter, because a majority of the forces that they're using to invade Temple are actually droids that he's personally controlling. And they're actually making quick work of Poseidon's military, and we actually get to see Fabio trying to figure out a way to push him back and keep them away from Poseidon. And just as he's trying to figure that out, Jaguar breaks into their base and starts tearing his way through the soldiers there. And when I say tearing through, I mean he is ripping them apart. He literally tears people apart in this chapter. We don't get to see the actual thing is all silhouetted, but still you can tell that he's killing people in this chapter. And I mean, we've seen people die in the series before, but it's never been anything as brutal as this. Oh, and by the way, Jaguar's ability is to turn himself into a human Jaguar hybrid. Think Rob Lucci from One Piece is literally how he looks besides the hair. But yeah, Jaguar is just tearing his way through the soldiers at the base, and this is actually when we get to see Fabiano step in to attack Jaguar, using his ether gear that turns his body into owl crystals, which I guess are like their versions of diamonds in this cosmos. But anyway, he steps right in to attack him with a punch after he turns his fist into the crystal. But even that doesn't do much to stop Jaguar, and he just knocks Fabiano out with like 3 hits. I mean, he goes down pretty easily, and we end up finding out from Poseidon later on, actually a few pages later, that apparently Fabiano was the strongest member of his entire military besides him. So the fact that Jaguar was able to do this, again, shows that he is just a beast. And then this is when Poseidon himself shows up, ready to face off against Jaguar. But before they can fight, Ziggy shows up as well. And now we have a 3-way all-out brawl between these 3 absolute monsters. And honestly, it's hard to say who's going to end up coming out on top here. Because, I mean, we've only seen small glimpses of what Ziggy and Jaguar can do. And we know they've been holding a majority of their power back. And when it comes down to Poseidon, we've really only seen his future-telling ability. We don't know any attacks he can use with those dice. So as of right now, I'm not really certain exactly how this is going to play out for him. But it seems like Shura is very confident that Ziggy will be the one to come out on top of this, at least when it comes down to defeating Poseidon. Because when we cut over to him, Witch questions why he's not more worried for his father. And then this is when he reveals that all of this apparently was all a part of his plan. So apparently he made that big declaration about the All Link and took a majority of the military with him to Narrow 66, all to lure Ziggy out, but not to lure him out to himself, but to Poseidon, hoping that at the best they would take each other out, and at the worst case scenario, Ziggy would at least kill Poseidon for him, so that Shura could take over the Owl Cosmos. Now, right away, I was like, okay, this plan is filled with holes. Like, for starters, even if Ziggy took down Poseidon, he would still have to deal with Ziggy, who is definitely going to be coming after him for the All Link. And I doubt that he expected the IUA to be as involved in this fight as they currently are. And of course, there's also the Eden Zero crew. I definitely know he did not expect them to show up at this point. But I gotta say, the biggest hole in this entire plan for me is the fact that back in chapter 130, Poseidon read his future right in front of Shura. Shura already knew that Poseidon knew how this whole thing would play out. And I mean, the argument can possibly be made that Shura probably thought that Poseidon knew he'd die, but because he's so devoted to the outcome of the dice, that he decided not to try and fight his fate. And Shura wasn't there in chapter 137 when Poseidon told Fabiano that the dice told him that no matter how this played out, at the end he'd get what he wanted and be the one victorious. So I can understand that maybe Shura is a little more confident in his plan than he should be, because of the fact that he doesn't know these key factors. But I mean, when your dad, whether he's adopted or not, when your dad has the ability to tell the future, why even try to scheme against him? But anyway, guys, that's it for this chapter. I'm actually really looking forward to the fight between these 3 characters. Like I said, they are monsters, and I really, really hope Hero does not skip over this at all, because I have a feeling that this is actually going to be the most epic fight that we've seen in the series yet. Even more epic than the fight between Elsie and Justice, which, as of right now, might be my favorite fight that we've seen. So I'm looking forward to seeing this one top that. But anyway, that's it for the video, guys. Oh, I forgot to mention, look out for Eden Zero's anime to finally be coming out on Netflix over here in America. I think on the 28th of this week, or of this month, so near the end of the week, the anime will finally be out. I believe it's only going to be like the first 12 episodes, but regardless of what it is, I'm definitely going to be watching the entire thing. But anyway, guys, that's it for this video. Thanks for watching. I really, really do hope you guys enjoyed it. Let me know what your thoughts on the chapter in the comment section down below, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace.